Hey guys, it's Kirby the Bookish Nurse and welcome back to my channel. Today is finally the day that I get to announce our October Readathon, the Creature Creation-a-thon. So I've been working on this for a while and I think that I finally have something that I can bring to y'all. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be our most in-depth readathon that we've done so far, and it's also going to be the longest. So October's readathon is going to be 30 days long. It's going to be the whole month of October, or actually 31 days long, the whole month of October, and we're going to go in and create our own spooky characters that we can be for Halloween. This video is probably going to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into what the readathon is going to be about. Which path will you choose? So for this readathon, I created 5 paths that you can choose from. You can go on the vampire path, the witch path, the shapeshifter path, the ghost or spirit path, or the fae. I'm going to start with the witch path. This one was super fun to look up and read about the different types of magic and things. It was super fun to put together. Each path, by the way, is going to have 4 prompts. I feel like that's doable for most anybody. That'd be 1 book a month. Now, you can choose to go on multiple paths if you can read that much. If you want to read 16 books in October, by all means, do your thing. But it's in order to complete a path, it only takes 4 books. Because of the fact that I'm only doing 4 books per creature, I would really prefer it if we didn't double up on prompts, just because I feel like you can get through 4 books in a month if you really want to. And it doesn't matter how you consume these books. If you want to read a physical book, an ebook, an audiobook, a graphic novel, children's picture book, whatever suits your fancy, it doesn't matter how you get through it as long as you get a story that fits the prompts I'm about to go over. For the witch path, the first prompt is just to read a book that features witches. This can be the main character, it can be the main antagonist. As long as there's a strong witch feature, that starts you down the path of the witch. The second prompt is, what type of witch will you be? Are you a green witch? The prompt for that is a book with plants or flowers on the cover. Are you going to be an elemental witch that practices elemental magic? The prompt for that one is going to be a book with fire or water on the cover. Are you going to be a traditional witch, which we see more often like on TV? These are the witches that are going to be using wands and spells and stuff like that. The prompt to be a traditional witch is going to have stars or sparks on the cover. If you can't find a book that you want that has a picture of a star on it, if star is in the title, cool. By sparks, that can actually be like just sparkles, or it could be like sparks from a flame or sparks of electricity. So use your judgment. Or you can be a witch that practices death magic. So basically a necromancer. To be that type of witch, the prompt is a book with a primarily black cover or with bones on the cover. The next question for witch is, what type of familiar would you have? At least in Egyptian mythology, cats are known for being the guardians of the underworld. And I think that's such a cool mythos to have. So the prompt for cats is going to be a book involving mythos of some sort. I'm probably going to find a Hades and Persephone retelling because cats are the guardians of the underworld. But that is not necessary. Any type of Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, anything that you can find that looks interesting, as long as it is mythos based. Or you can choose a dog. The prompt for this one is a book recommended to you by a friend. That can be someone you know in real life that really wants you to read their favorite book, or it can be a book that was recommended to you by one of your favorite booktubers or a librarian, or as long as it was recommended to you. You can choose to have a dragon be your familiar. For this one, the prompt is just to find a book that features dragons. And finally, you can choose to have a snake for your familiar. I think that would pair very well with someone who practiced death magic. I don't know why, just the aesthetic of having a snake around your shoulder while you're counting chicken bones or whatever. It just looks super spooky and I love it. I'm not gonna explain why this prompt matches this familiar, but I think you'll know. For if you would like a snake to be your familiar, read a book that is heavy with political themes. I'm going to leave that there for y'all. Finally, do you belong to a part of a coven? So if you do want to be part of a coven, read any book that's a part of a series. If you do not want to be part of a coven and you just want to be a witch in the woods or wherever all by yourself and practice solo, read a standalone. The first prompt for the Vampire Path is to read a book that has a vampire as a main character. Your first choice is, what type of diet do you have? Through the media, we've had lots of different renditions of vampires come about. Which way would you live? Would you be the Stefan or the Damon? Would you be the Cullens or the Volturi? Or whatever those bad people's names were. Would you like to drink mostly from live humans and have fresh meals every time? If you would, you need to read a horror or a thriller novel. If you would not, and you would like to drink animal blood or from a blood bag and basically be a vegan vampire, then you need to read a romance. This can be any type of romance. It can be supernatural romance or paranormal romance, as long as it has that heavy I love you theme romance. The third option that you choose down the vampire path, what is your relationship with the sun? This is also something that in the media has had several different results. Some of them explode, some of them melt, some of them sparkle like diamonds, some of them just get a sunburn and it's just uncomfortable. So what is your relationship with the sun? Are you strictly a creature of the night? In which case, read a book with a primarily black cover. Are you a daylighter? Maybe you drank someone's blood that gave you powers, or a different type of creature's blood that gave you powers. Or maybe you just live in a world where vampires are not really affected by the sun that much. If this is the case and you are a daywalker, read a book with a primarily yellow cover. Are you a creature of the night, but you're in good with the witch and you have a talisman that lets you walk during the day? Read a book with shiny foiling on the cover. I'm sure y'all all know what that looks like. So that can be on the actual hard cover, or if there's foiling on the dust jacket. Either way, it counts. The last choice you have to make as a vampire is, do you have a companion? If no, you want to be an immortal and roam the world solo your whole life, your whole immortal life. That's a long time to be by yourself. But if that's who you are, read a standalone. If you have an immortal partner who you will spend the next millennia with, and neither of you will ever grow old and you get to be young and in love for all of your days, then read a book from a series that is currently ongoing. If you have a mortal lover because you know that nothing beautiful lasts forever and you can appreciate the beauty that is mortal life, then read a book from a series that has come to an end. The next path, and in my opinion, the spookiest path, is the path of the ghosts and the spirits. So if you would like to take a step down the spirit path, read a book that features ghosts or spirits of some kind. The second prompt that you'll have to complete on the spirit path is, what type of spirit are you? I tried to research different types of spirits so that it's not just, oh, you're a ghost. So I found some that I thought were pretty cool. And so the choices that I have are a banshee, which is from Gaelic folklore, and it's a disheveled woman that whenever you see her, she warns, either her presence or her wailing warns of death in the near future. If you would like to be a banshee, read a book that deals heavily with grief, or read from an author that is known for killing off their characters. George R.R. Martin, just anyone that you know. I'm pretty sure Abercrombie, even though I haven't read anything from him. Probably this guy, John Gwynn. Probably. I'm not sure. But I know Martin kills everybody all the time. So just read a book from an author known for killing their characters. Or a book dealing in grief. I watched how to pronounce this on Google, so I'm sorry if I get it wrong. But if you would like to be a yokai, this is a Japanese spirit. From what I understand, this is just their version of ghosts, people who passed away and their spirit remains in Japan. So if you would like to be a yokai, read a book that has been translated. In American culture, that same thing is a shade. If you would like to be a shade, read a book from an author who has passed away. Third prompt for the spirit path is, where do you haunt? So if you haunt a home, if you have a haunted house, then read a book from that's set in the state that you're from or that you live in. If you want to be a ghost that haunts a library or a school, read a book about books. So if it's set in a library or if it's about some mythical book, read a book about books. If you want to be a spirit that haunts an object, so you're not really bound to one location, but you are bound to this flask or this ring or whatever, read a book that features a traveling story. So maybe a quest novel, something like that. And finally, how do you find peace? You can have someone come help you finish your unfinished business. If this is the case, read a book that features a strong friendship. Maybe you were a banshee and you had to get put down and Sam and Dean came and took care of you. If that was the case, read the last book in a series, because it's over for you. Or maybe you don't find peace and you don't find rest, and you will continue to haunt to the ends of the earth. Read a book from an ongoing series. This next one was my favorite one to make because I just think that it is so pretty. If you would like to go down the path of the fae or the fairy or the fair folk or the good neighbors or whatever you want to call them, if you would like to go down that path, the first prompt is to read a book featuring fae. Simple enough. The market is flooded with them right now. The second choice for you to make, are you going to be Seelie or Unseelie or from a celestial court? So traditionally there's Seelie and Unseelie. Seelie being summer, spring, Unseelie being fall and winter. However, with the popularity of Sarah J. Maas and Rhysand and all the things, celestial courts have now become a thing. So, if you would like to be Seelie or from the summer spring court, read a book with super bright colors, or if it's covered in flowers. If you would like to be unseelie, so from the autumn or winter court, read a book that is mostly fall colored. So if it's oranges, yellows, browns, maybe a little green, red, fall colors. Or if it's covered in snow for the winter court. But not just a white book, but actually depicts snow on it. And if you would like to be from a celestial court, so day court, night court, dawn court, then you should read a book that features a sun or a moon on the cover. As one of the fair folk, what is your biggest weakness? Traditionally, the biggest weakness is iron. And if this is also the case for you, to fulfill this prompt, read a book that is in hardback. Also, pretty traditionally, salt is one of the weaknesses of a fairy. That's one of the ways to catch a fairy. If salt is your main concern, find a book that is known to be angsty or have a super salty main character. The ultimate power that you can get over a fairy in most stories is if you find out their true name. If your true name is your biggest weakness, read a book that the author penned under a pseudonym. What is your biggest strength as a fairy? This is the last one for the fairy prompt, or for the fairy path. Everyone knows that fairies are masters at wordplay. If this is your biggest strength, read a book with super flowery writing or purple prose. This can be so many people. Most old fantasy writers or older fantasy writers counts. I mean, if we're being honest, they count. Laini Taylor, Stephen King, and that would be a great one to read this season because it's all spooky and you can be all creeped out if that's what you're into. Is your biggest strength magic? Are you a fairy godmother? No, you don't have to be the fairy godmother. But if you are the type of fairy whose biggest strengths rely in magic, probably mostly nature magic, then just read a book that heavily features magic. Of any kind, hard magic system, soft magic system, whatever kind you want. Or is your biggest strength just the fact that you are an immortally beautiful being? If this is the case, read a book that has withstood the test of time. This can also mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So if you want to read a classic, that would be perfect. But you can accept anything. Like if something was written in 2005, and I don't know about most books, but I know in YA, you can tell if something was written in 2009 versus 2020. So if something, particularly in YA, if something was written more than 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and it still holds up, I would count that. But that's up to y'all. The final path is going to be the path of the shapeshifter. If you would like to take a step down the path of a shapeshifter, read a book that's about a shapeshifter or a clan of shapeshifters. The second prompt for you would be, how did you become a shifter? Were you just born into it? If that's the case, read a book from the decade you were born. Of course, this is going to be different for most people. Mine would be the 90s. So read a book from whatever decade you were born. Were you bitten or attacked and that made you turn? Read a book that you are intimidated by. Or did you get some type of virus and that spawned into lycanthropy or whatever type of shifter you are. If that is the case, read a book that is post-apocalyptic or dystopian. The third prompt for the shifter is, what is your shifted form? So if it's a wolf or a dog of some kind, some type of canine, read a book that is a 5-star read for one of your friends. Once again, if you don't know any readers, that is fine. Just a 5-star read from your favorite booktuber. Or are you a werecat? So you can turn into a cat, a tiger, a panther, any type of feline animal. If that's you, read a book with a bad heroine. So I want to see some feisty, don't mess with them ladies in this category. Or are you a little different and you can shift into any aquatic animal? If this is the case, read a book with a strong water theme. Are you an animal of the air? So this is any type of bird that flies, or any type of animal that flies. I guess you could also be like an insect if you wanted to, but I wouldn't choose that unless you're going to be having to slip out of a lot of situations. But anyways, if it has wings, if you would like to be an animal that has wings, read a book with wings or feathers on the cover. The last choice for the shifter path is, what position in the pack are you? So are you a lone wolf? If that is the case, then read a book with less than 1,000 reviews on Goodreads. Are you the alpha? If you are, read a book that has a 5-star prediction from you. Or you can be a den mother, in which case read a book that has a strong family connection. I really wanted to put it as, I want to make sure I have room over here. I wanted to put it as a book that has a strong parental theme, but I know a lot of the people that I'm friends with and that I talk to on here read a lot of YA, and I don't think it's going to be very easy to find a book that has a strong parental anything in the YA category. So a book with a strong familial theme. Finally, you can be a pack elder. So the wisest and most respected of the bunch. Well, maybe not the most respected because you know the alpha, but the wisest probably. If you are the pack elder, read a historical fiction novel. That's it. That is the entire readathon and all of the prompts that go along with it. I'm going to link all of the prompts and all of the slides that I put up on the screen here in the description box below so that you can flip back to them as you need to. I'm also going to link a spreadsheet that I'm going to try to put on Google Docs so that y'all can sign on and leave recommendations for each of these prompts. I'll also probably have, my recommendations on there as well. But if you say, oh my God, even if you don't want to do the readathon, if you say, oh my God, I know these books would fit this one perfectly, you can get on there and fill it out and help the people that are gonna do it. I can't wait to see what kind of characters y'all come up with. I know we have a super creative bunch over at the Bookworm Alley Club. Y'all never cease to surprise me with the things y'all can come up with. If this sounds fun for you and you might want to participate, drop me a comment and let me know what path you might want to take. Get on the Google Docs and let us know what type of books you think would go with these. If you have any questions about the readathon, you can reach out to me or Sam or Brittany in our Discord, which will also be linked below. And we would be more than happy to help y'all out with whatever questions you may have about this readathon or about the club in general. So I feel like the end of this got extremely rambly, and I'm very sorry for that. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here. If you like this video and you want to see more bookish content from me, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I post videos every week, and I will see y'all soon with a new video. Bye.